Hey, this is EVA Unit 4A for CollectionDX.com. In this review, I will be highlighting the transformations, special features, and other notables of the DX Samurai Gattai Shinken-Oh from the 2009 Super Sentai Series Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. The hero mecha within the 2009 Super Sentai Series are referred to as origami. Ordinarily, origami means folding paper. But in Shinkenger, because Toei and Bandai love to play word games, origami instead is taken to mean folding spirit, or folding god. Triple changing mecha are not unusual, but they don't happen very often. Usually what happens is you get the basic 5 or the basic 3 mini mecha, or whatever you want to call them. They combine and form some kind of a specialized vehicle or a different kind of robot mode or something like that, and then they form the basic mecha, or whatever it is, for the core Rangers. This was broken in the year 2000 with Mirai Sentai Time Ranger, where they had the 3D transformation system, whatever it was called, where they actually became 4 modes rather than 3, which they haven't done before or since. However, having the individual mecha change into 2 forms on their own hasn't really happened before or since 1996 with Gekiso Sentai Kame. So the origami of the Shinken-Oh make a return to the triple changing mecha where they had 2 modes on their own, and then they could combine into the standard giant robot. And so the forms that you see here are what is known as badge form, where the kanji of each Shinkenger is represented. For Shinken Red we have fire, the same with blue is water, the same with yellow is earth, the same with pink is sky or heaven, and the same with green is wood. Obviously you get fire, water, earth, air. You hear about these classic elements all the time, so throwing the wood in there is just, whatever. 2 things you will have to keep in mind with each of the toy reviews that I do as far as the origami go. One is that they're all to 1:1 scale. In the TV series, the emblem mode and the animal mode can actually be held in the palm of the Ranger's hand. When in emblem mode, they actually stick them in their pockets. The other thing you have to consider is the origin of their names, the origami, folding paper. And so, as these are being transformed, not necessarily as they're being combined, but as they're being transformed between their individual modes and how they kind of wrap around each other, keep in mind that it's supposed to be reminiscent somehow of folding paper. And so here we start out with the Shishi Origami, which means lion in Japanese. It's actually a little tricky to get the back legs out of there, because you actually have to wedge your finger in there and lift up under the paw. You also have to remember to fold these so that they're horizontal. Then you get the Shishi Origami in animal mode. Basically, there is no posability in this figure other than in the mouth. And as I said, you have to think of them as folding paper, which is why these arms are so thin. It's also what has kind of an awkward profile to it, both from the side and from the front. It's also interesting to note, and this will be illustrated a little more later, how the inside of the head, the mane here, is actually quite hollow. And you can see the legs are really thin as well. So each of these, in their own way, is meant to illustrate the fact that they're reminiscent of paper that's being folded, albeit it's all ABS plastic rather than paper. Next up is the Ryu Origami. Ryu means dragon. All of the origami in this set, except for the lion, except for the Shishi Origami, they're covered in the back. With the Shishi Origami, you could actually see the legs and the joints and all kinds of things sitting on the back. While you can see joints along all the others, you usually have this black pattern on the back. You can't see it on camera like this, and I wasn't able to get clear photos of it either. But each of these individual dots is actually the shape of the particular origami. So in the case of the Ryu Origami, you've got this 6-sided figure, and then each of these dots is also a 6-sided figure. Now make sure that when you're setting it on the ground, this tab here lets it stay upright because the top one will not let it sit straight. That's emblem mode. So here we go with the transformation. This one perhaps reflects best the folding paper style of the mecha because it has a whole bunch of holes and odd joints to it. Here's the Ryu Origami in animal mode. As with the Shishi Origami, the mouth can open and close, even if there's some teeth and a little tongue sitting in there. The flexibility in the Ryu Origami is actually quite generous. The tail is, generous as far as animal mode goes. And the neck, there's actually a double joint right here. So one of the things I noticed is even though the neck is, you notice this point here is actually on top of this parallel line here. One of the things I noticed is that double joint actually doesn't get used very much. So sometimes I like to set it in this lower position here, even though officially it is supposed to be like that. But I digress. And then the neck and the head can point up and down. You'll notice it has little feet on the front and again on the back, even though they're individual legs here, sole leg right there. And then these are just connection joints down here, connection pegs right down here. You'll notice here the Shinken-Oh's helmet sitting right there, which is actually kind of interesting because sometimes you had mecha in the past in Super Sentai Series where the robot that formed the torso and head did not necessarily store the helmet or the head for the rest of it. That's happened before in Super Sentai. It doesn't happen very often, but it has been known to happen. And so the Ryu Origami carries on that tradition. Next up is the Kame Origami. Kame means turtle, or as I like to call it, the hockey puck origami, for obvious reasons. Very simple to transform this one. Very easy. And you fold those out. And then you get the Kame Origami in animal mode. When is the pink Sentai Ranger ever going to get a mecha that actually has majority of pink rather than mostly white or mostly silver or even mostly black? I mean, the only pink you have on there is the kanji symbol right there, and that's it. I mean, not even the eyes. The eyes are red. Each origami, and you have to look for them in different locations, has the Shiba clan symbol right there, which is kind of the universal symbol for the Shinkenger as well. Fins can fold up and, of course, down. And that is it for the hockey puck origami. Next up is the Kuma Origami. Kuma means bear. Back legs are actually the key to locking and unlocking the torso shifting. Front legs are not. Now you have the Kuma Origami in animal mode. Like the Ryu Origami, the Kuma Origami loses out on all of its posability except for the jaw, which opens and closes nicely. Some teeth in there and that's it. You can see here the outlines of the legs. I mean, even though this section moves, you can see in profile these lines here imply the rest of the imply the profile of the legs. But there's like, yeah, okay. And again, the Shiba clan symbol there. The only thing you can do is, I can't remember the exact name of it from the show, but the Kuma Origami stands up on its, supposedly it walks on it, does this towards its opponent. See, you can kind of do this if you want to, but whatever. Yeah, okay, that just looks weird. This one is by far the most solid of the origami. It doesn't move around easily unless you move it, and it doesn't have any obvious holes or gaps or anything, except in its butt, of course. And last but not least, we have the Saru Origami, which means monkey. Like the Kame Origami, this one has a very simple transformation, only 2 or 3 steps. Boom, done. Saru Origami in animal mode. Aside from their general appearance and their names as such, each of the origami that I've shown here so far also has little details. Like, for example, the Saru Origami has little ears on the back there. It's got little nostrils in the front there. Unfortunately, the mouth does not open up. But you also have individual fingers. And more because of the transformation, but they do show it in the series. These are the fists. This is the left fist of the Shinken-Oh. So it's supposed to do this because it switches to emblem mode. You can switch this back and forth. I don't know why, but I don't know. And then you can also run the arms back and forth. So the arms are always kind of tilted at an odd angle, though. The feet, though, the legs are, I don't know, those aren't very convincing as monkey legs, but I digress. So that is the Saru Origami. So take notice that the monkey has a hole in its butt, and the Shiba clan symbol is sitting right there. And so to me, the individual origami are hit and miss. Samurai Gattai! There. What do you think? It's pretty, you know what? Actually, that's not pretty at all. Udine? Believe it or not, it's actually easier to transform them if they're already in emblem mode rather than if they're in animal mode. As I stated earlier with the Kuma Origami, you have to open up the back legs in order to get the thing to shift around. With the head also, there's an interesting little trick. Here it is, animal mode. The head can move up and down just fine. However, when changing it into Shinken-Oh form, it actually locks into place as a foot. So what you have to do in order to release it is just push up on that, and the head will twist around just fine. Ironically, the 2 legs do not stand upright on their own. It's just because of the leveling taps that they have on the bottom. It'll stand just fine on its own. Just for whatever reason, you can't stand it. You can't stand them separately. Saru Origami is 1 step away from animal mode. You see, there's the animal mode, there's the Shinken-Oh mode. Sucks. Make sure the jaw is closed. Here, another example, you have to open up the legs in order to get everything else to move around. Again, twist these like that. Oh yeah, one thing I need to mention, I didn't really illustrate it before. If you look carefully on the bottom there, you can see there's a square there and there's a 6-sided figure there, which correspond with the square there and the 6-sided figure there. So there actually is a correct way that you have to do it. Ironically, you don't have to worry about that with the Saru and Kuma Origamis. I'm sorry, Saru and... The head is actually 2 pieces, a back piece and a front piece. And you can see the individual heads sitting there. And the crown flips upwards. There, and the Gattai Shinken goes in here. And then you get the Samurai Gattai Shinken-Oh. A what? What the hell's a Megazord? Oh man. Oh, it's... The Samurai Gattai Shinken-Oh is I don't know, quite unusual looking. It has very few rounded edges on it. They're all very sharp, very angular stuff. There's a lot of points on it. It looks like paper that's been folded up. You know, the exception being the arm here, maybe some of the heads. And that's really the point of all of these origami, is they're supposed to look like folded paper in all the modes, not just in animal mode, but also in emblem mode to some degree, and then even more so in the Shinken-Oh mode. But it's the weapon features that make it look really interesting. For example, the Daishinken can be removed from the hip area, and then it can be placed into the right hand like so. It's not as tight as I would like it to be, but it's okay. And then what you can do is you can take the hidden disc shield, the hidden shield, whatever it's called, and you can open it up. You can take it off its back, which is pretty cool. I mean, you can actually stick the thing on the back, and then you can fit it onto the left hand like so. What? No, dude, it's got the shield on the back, it's got the sword on the hip, and it's got the big old crown. And look, you could take the crown off. How is this not the Shinken-Oh? Fine, have it your way, you lousy. Because the Shinken-Oh is supposed to represent some of the other classic elements. I mean, it's not just the appearance of the soldier. Just from, you know, it's actually got kind of a narrow waist, which is kind of okay, that's interesting. But it's got this great long katana that actually gets stored. I mean, it actually fits into a slot in the left hip. It can also fit on the right, but it doesn't stay in there. But it actually will fit and stay in the left hip. And this is the Gattai Shinken. Now, the interesting thing, I took a photograph of it, so you can look at the text review on CDX, but you can actually see the Shishi, Ryu, the Kuma, Saru, and the Kame Origami in simple forms across the blade, which I thought was pretty interesting. Now, the left hand, obviously Shinken-Oh is not left-handed, but it can be held in the left hand, and you can see that the handle goes all the way through. Well, here's my problem, and this is the trend that I don't really like, that Bandai and Plex have been putting out a lot lately, is that even though you put it in the right hand, you see it doesn't grip the whole thing because there's no hole in this surface here of the Kame Origami's the crest on the front. So it only partially holds the Gattai Shinken, that's pretty annoying. But as I just demonstrated, you actually have a wrist joint, only because of the transformation. None of the posability here is by coincidence. The exception would be the jaws of the Kuma, Ryu, and Shishi Origami, but that's it. But you can put the Gattai Shinken. By the way, the Gattai Shinken, the blade is PVC, and the rest of it is ABS. But then there's the hidden shield on the back, which is, I mean, it actually snaps on the back, like it would be stored on the back. You can see there's a clip up here and a clip down here, which correspond to the holes here and here. So what you can do, take this, and you can lock it onto the left arm like so. Now, I haven't seen it do this in the show, but presumably it can because the toy can also do it. However, so as not to be left out, there is a tab you can fold out on the back, and this can fit into either hand, of course. But you can put it into the left hand. You can put it into the left hand. You can put it into the friggin' left hand. Ruff. Oh, what the hell? Okay, whatever. You can put it in the left hand, and it acts as an actual shield for the Shinken-Oh. So, yeah. It's a shield that spins. Why is it a shield that spins? I don't know. But this is no ordinary shield either. Now, I don't know why it is that the hidden shield can spin. That's kind of a mystery to me. But the fact that it's round and it's got a repeating pattern that goes around it makes me think that this actually might be a secret disc. And sure enough, it is. Each of the Shinkenger has one of these. And what they do when they want to do the, was it the Daishinken Samurai Gyuri, Samurai Slash, is they can stick it onto the Shinkenmaru, and you notice the pattern does this. When you build up enough Mojikara, so that's just another way of connecting one toy that's made for one function and then putting it together with a completely different one. So, yeah, you actually get a bonus secret disc with the Shinken-Oh. Now, for Super Sentai, we've had the samurai theme has reared its head a couple of times, but we've never really had a dedicated theme to it. We've never really had a dedicated robot to it. Usually it was ninjas, which are more of a secretive group. Samurai, on the other hand, were the general soldiers of Japan. And the Shinken-Oh, to my Western eyes, it looks like, I guess you could say, it looks like a Japanese soldier in full battle armor. Certainly with the crown, the big helmet, which, by the way, I thought it's kind of irritating. It's got this great big helmet, and then it's really narrow. But that's why it has to fit into the Ryu Origami. But then it's got the Daishinken here, which is nice long katana. The problem with it is, of course, that it can't go all the way through. What was really cool about this set is that you could actually put the Daishinken into the thing here. Maybe not into a scabbard, but you could actually put it into a very convenient place. You could actually store it in a place where it used to be stored. And the same with the hidden shield in back. You stored it on the back because they stored it in back. The helmet, we see these elaborate ornamental helmets at the cutlery stores and the armory stores or whatever they're called. And then it's got some, shall I say, bulky armored legs. And it's got a surprisingly, like I mentioned it earlier, the surprisingly narrow waist. So, the Shinken-Oh by itself, it does pretty well. And in this particular case, I think that the posability that we lost is acceptable considering everything else that we got. We got triple changing mecha, and then we've got this mecha impersonating origami. That's pretty interesting. The head, there's no way I see that the head could have moved. We got one twisting wrist, okay. The elbows, well, you can bend them, but obviously you bend them in the wrong place. Believe it or not, because of the way it changes, you can actually twist the legs in and out, to a certain degree, but you can't do it. And by the way, those non-existent upper legs, that is annoying. I can understand why they did it, but I didn't like what they did. So, and the other thing I didn't like, and this seems to happen a lot in Super Sentai these days, maybe not originally, but nowadays, is you get the Shishi Origami, the Kuma Origami, and the Ryu Origami, their heads are present, but then the Saru Origami and the Kame Origami's heads are just kind of hidden in there. The other thing is that why would you have these two geometric shapes sitting down here when the Shishi, Kame, and Saru Origami do not have them? Well, here's the thing. There's actually 3 small triangles sitting right there. There's a circle sitting right there. And I'm guessing that the Shiba clan symbol could be the pentagon shape. I don't know. Oh, no, that's right. The pentagon shape is along the side right there. So, I kind of miss the good old days where the shapes were all around. But, unfortunately, I think those days are disappearing as far as the giant mecha go. For the individual origami, they're kind of hit and miss. I like the Ryu, I like the Shishi, and I like the Kuma Origami. The Kame Origami, I want to like it, but unfortunately it's got that huge connection joint right there on the side, and it's just not very well formed. It just, it's okay. And then the Saru Origami is probably my least favorite. Just The arms look... yeah, it's supposed to be folding paper, but just... I can only take that analogy so far before the toy design just starts becoming kind of iffy. The Shishi Origami and the Ryu Origami definitely look like paper, or like plastic that's been folded up. It does give that appearance, so that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I wish there had been a little bit of posability in at least in the shoulders of the Kuma and Shishi Origami. I do wish there had been a little more posability in some of them, but I can kind of sort of understand why it is they didn't. As far as the individual origami go, I wish that they had flowed a little bit more. Like with the Ryu Origami, I mean, there's little bumps and you can see things along the sides, but when you look at it head on, there's not a lot that sticks out. And same with the Kuma Origami. With the Shishi Origami, well, gosh, the front and the back aren't even the same. I was talking about this earlier. That was really annoying. Plus, you've got these Gattai joints sitting right on the end there. So, and you get these little, you've got the upper legs sitting up there. So that's really annoying. This isn't consistent whatsoever. This is kind of like the Shishi Origami, where you can see some stuff in back. So, if there was one thing I would like to have changed, which they easily could have changed, except maybe with the Shishi and Kame Origami, is that the symbols were on the back as well as on the front. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but on the Shinken-Oh, the symbols only sit for the Ryu and the Kuma Origami. They're only on the left side of the legs, of both legs. The right sides are completely black. So that was kind of annoying and rather inconsistent, I thought. Because they're triple changers, because the hidden shield actually becomes a secret disc, I can understand why it is, might be a high price. Because they're meant to fold up like origami in some fashion. I mean, certainly the waist joint, all the way, the joints in here, like you can only fold it one direction, but you can't if it's twisted in a different direction. Like, that was cool. How the tail and stuff are long. It's actually a two-part tail. That was kind of interesting. So I can kind of sort of understand the high price tag on this. Now, if it had electronics in it, the $80, the $75, $80 price tag would have been understandable. But because they're triple changers with no electronics or no spring-loaded features or anything like that, that kind of makes me question why it would cost so much. Now, obviously, we're going to be seeing some combinations later on. It looks like there's going to be some kind of an armor upgrade or something. This is the chest of the Shinken-Oh, and you can see these two holes right here don't get used at all. And the fact that the Kame and Saru, or let's see, the Kame and the, I don't know, I'm getting tired. The fact that the two arms disconnected to shoulders makes me think that it's going to be another limb swapping season, which, oh god, don't give us another one of those, please. Bandai, Toei, Plex, I'm getting tired of limb swapping. I miss the good old days where it's just one giant robot and then it had kind of a super combo and that was it. No more limb swapping, please. No more massive accessory sets. That's getting kind of tiresome. Now, another thing that concerns me is how this origami line is going to be treated. Now, one thing that concerns me about the future is the consistency. With limb swapping, obviously, I'm wondering if these accessory mecha that they're going to be attaching onto the arms or onto the chest or whatever, are they also going to change into emblem modes like this? Are they going to have an animal form as well as a robot form? I hope they do, because I'm also getting tired of accessory mecha and even later, super robots or whatever that don't fit the trend. I like the trend with these guys. They have an emblem mode, they have an animal mode, and then they combine, plus they look like origami. Are any of the later ones going to look like that? I don't know, but I hope they do, because I'm getting tired of the trends. Like, I intentionally skipped a couple of the mecha from, 2008's Engine Sentai Goanger. I skipped a few more. Hell, I skipped them all from 2007's Juken Sentai Geki Danger. I skipped the whole line there because I wasn't really thrilled with the mecha. They just kind of break trends, and I don't like it. So Bandai, Plex, Toei, it would be nice if you could be consistent. Like, if you're going to give us an animal theme, make sure they're all like, if your lead Ranger mecha are going to have an emblem mode, an animal mode, and then they're going to combine, well, they damn well all better do it with all your accessory mecha. They better all have an emblem mode, an animal mode, and then maybe a combo mode. That would be cool. But anyways, the DX Samurai Gattai Shinken-Oh is a pretty cool set. Like I said, it's a little bit pricey, but it's still a good set. I recommend getting it. And so, this is EVA Unit 4A for CollectionDX.com, signing off. Oh, no, Skipper. This thing runs counter to any known form of adaptive evolution we know. What do you mean? Well, take this here, this feature, characteristic of a four-footed animal. Yet our friend last night left the tracks of a biped. Primarily a ground animal, too. Yet this claw could only belong to an arboreal creature like some impossible tree sloth. Anywhere in the universe, this thing is a nightmare.